Now, we're all getting older, right? Time stops for no man or woman, but retirement needn't be this big, scary chasm waiting to consume us. It could be the sundowners, it should be. Welcome to another segment on Old Mutual's umbrella funds. Tonight, we're going to be discussing those all-important benefits. Hey, the costs were great, but what do I get from them? With me again in studio is Michelle Acton from Old Mutual. Michelle, always a pleasure. Now, apart from that old cliche of saving towards retirement, tell us in detail what are some of the other benefits that members can access under the umbrella fund.
Okay, so essentially I think there's 4 aspects that we can look at. The first is our savings component. As you pay, you decide on a contribution level and that goes in. But the second option, or the second area that you can look at, is actually around your death benefits. And within your retirement fund, it's probably one of the most cost-effective methods of holding back or putting together death cover for members. So the employer has the opportunity to set a pretty standard set of benefits for all their employees, and funded from that contribution that you paid into the retirement fund can then be funded for a lower cost death benefit. And that adds value because we find a lot of members don't usually have death benefits on their own because it sometimes can be seen as a quite costly thing to have. The next level of benefit that has is disability benefits. And that's really looking at covering members in the case that they're unable to do work due to medical reasons and they have some sort of replacement of income. And then the other aspect, which is often quite a popular one, is funeral benefits and really enabling the employers to provide some sort of blanket funeral benefits for all their employees as well. And that also is quite cost effective because funeral benefits through the fund can often be offered a lot cheaper than they would be if you and an individual to try and get funeral cover on your own.
When it comes to death and disability, these are often things that we don't like to talk about, but they're very, very necessary. But the question is, how do they serve members under the fund?
So the benefit is that it creates a default that everyone has a minimum level of cover. And what we find, especially in death, when somebody passes away, and often it's the working breadwinner, the family doesn't have anything to survive on and they come to the employer to say to the employer, please help because so-and-so passed away. And so having some sort of level of death cover in the fund means that you've got the comfort that your employees are covered.
Sure.
It might not be as much as they need because every person might need a different level of death cover, but at least you've got a firm basis in terms of knowing that those individuals have got 3 or 4 times their salary as a benefit to be paid to beneficiaries and to support children.
Also with so many different needs and member profiles, what are some of the considerations that employees certainly need to take into account when implementing these benefits?
Okay, so I think there's 2 sections. The one is looking at from the employer's perspective and the other is looking at from the employee's perspective. So from the employer, it's very difficult to meet all of the needs of your employees perfectly because every employee is different. So for example, you might have a single employee, you've got a married one with 3 kids, one with 5 kids, they've all got different financial needs. And because of that, as an employer, what you want to look at is what is affordable, what is reasonable, so that essentially you can create a nice standard level of cover to all of your employees. And of course the critical thing is communicating to your employees to make them aware that this is the level of cover they've got. Because we often find situations where employers offer great baskets of benefits to their members, but the members are not aware of it. Then from an employee's perspective, this is a great input to your own financial planning. If I have a look at my own personal situation, depending on how many kids I've got, then I will determine how much money, if anything happened to me, that I need, and I know that the starting base is if I work out I need 6 times my annual salary if anything happened to me, I know I've got 3 with the company, I only need to go and purchase another 3 outside of the company. So it's important from 2 different aspects. From an employer perspective, you want to create a base level, and there's a number of factors. You'll also look at that. You'll look at how much you can afford, you'll look at what other companies in similar industries are, and this is a benefit that makes you look as an attractive employer to attract and retain employees.
Sure. I understand that more and more people are actually asking questions about death and disability cover according to research from Old Mutual. Can you tell us why that is?
I think people are becoming more aware. If you go back 20, 30 years ago, it was very much the mindset of the employer will look after me, I'll be okay, because it was one employer for life.
Sure.
Now it's changed significantly. We know the new way of work as individuals are changing jobs more frequently, and it's no longer the employer's responsibility to make sure that you're okay for retirement, to make sure you've got a death cover, to make sure you've got enough disability cover. So the employer, a good employer, will create a great enabling environment with a good structure, great communication, making sure people are aware of what their benefits are and how they work. But it's now becoming more of the responsibility of the employee to understand how those benefits work and how they need to complement with their own personal cover to make sure they have enough.
I mean, with the advancements that we are seeing in the medical space, one would surely think that we have less disability around, but that isn't the case.
It's not the case at all. We are seeing in general, we've had an increase in the level of disability claimants, and a lot of them are lifestyle related. So I think that we're living longer, definitely, but our lifestyles that we're living in general, we're seeing the increase in disability claims are predominantly driven to obesity, poor health style choices, and lack of fitness, etc., are all areas that are bringing in higher levels of disability.
Oh dear, and I didn't go to the gym today. But I mean, Michelle, how do employee benefits give employers a competitive advantage, and especially in the SMME sector?
So I think, especially in the SME sector, there's a lot of employers that don't provide anything because they feel that I'm too small, I can't, there's other options. But actually, it doesn't matter the size of an employer. To provide a nice suite of benefits for members that when they join, they've got that comfort. It creates a greater level of loyalty and trust that if they know that their employer is looking after them. We find a lot of staff, especially the pressures that are on the individuals now, they start working, they get their salary, and they're just trying to pay the basics at home. But they don't think about those core needs around how much death cover I need, disability cover, saving for retirement, etc. So as an employer, putting that basket of benefits in place for them, which is relatively inexpensive and relatively easy to do, means that you're really just taking that stress off the employee and therefore making it an attractive employer to remain with.
It's like you said, where it's now becoming a situation whereby as an employee it is your responsibility to know what benefits you are entitled to, but I suppose as an owner of a small business, it's also your responsibility to know this information and also know that you can provide it to your workers at a decent cost.
Correct, and as an employer you're in a great position to be able to provide a basket of benefits that you know if someone comes and works for you, you've put a level of security in place for them, that they're saving for retirement, they've got sufficient, and not necessarily sufficient, but they've got a level of death cover, they've got disability if anything happens. So at least, because often the individuals don't even know that they need this. And so as an employer, having that in place does create a great basket of benefits for employees.
All right, so maybe you're a small business owner or you are an employer of a medium-sized business and you're looking to get some umbrella funds for your employees. What kind of questions do you need to be asking specifically in terms of disability and death cover?
So I think it's important. The first question is how much can you afford?
Sure.
Because all of this has got to be paid for. So if you're starting from scratch and you're saying I need to start with something, then essentially the first step is how do we bring in that we can afford to put a certain level of contribution rates. And we do believe it's something that should be funded by both the employer and the member. It's not something that the employer should be able to carry the cost. So we put a plan of action together to say, let's say for example we start off and we can only afford 5 or 6% to start off with, then we start with that. What basket of goods can we do that with that? And then over time you gradually increase that 6 to 8 to 10 to 12, that eventually you've got a reasonable amount of money going in towards a retirement fund. And so that's one aspect. And the other aspect you need to look at as an employer is who do you select? And that's really where bringing somebody in, an employee benefits specialist, to help you with that decision, to have a look at who's in the market, who can best provide, that we can get the best basket of combination of death, disability, retirement fund savings for our members in a cost-effective manner.
And again, right, so you are really keen on this now and you want more information. How do you access information about these funds?
So I'd recommend from an Old Mutual perspective, if you go onto the Old Mutual website, oldmutual.co.za, under Super Fund, you'll see some details there in terms of people you can contact and what options are available.
Well, Michelle, we'll leave it there. Have a great evening and thanks so much.
Thank you.
My name is Thabiso Makgoka. I'm the Managing Director of Mokibelo Investment Holdings. It's a construction company and property development company, and it was established in 2012, and currently we are a 6GB and 4CE contractors, and it was established by my husband in 2012 and I joined in 2013. I'm originally from Bushbuckridge in a small village called Rooiboklaagte, and I was raised by a single mother because my dad passed on while we were still very young, and we grew up in that difficult situation where we had to actually, when you are from a farmland kind of, and we used to sell even the tomatoes just to have the means or at least something to eat or something like that. And it actually, I think it helped me in such a way that where I come from, it actually contributes to where I am now, because at that point where the difficult situation, it was actually just preparing us, I think, to be a better person now. I studied at Tshwane University of Technology. I did my national diploma in building, and I also did my BTech, the degree in quantity surveying, and currently I'm studying the master's in quantity surveying. So next year is my last year. Being in the construction field from my graduation stage has been so difficult, in such a way that you will come across men that have been in the industry and they'll feel like, you know what, you don't know anything, we've been in this industry, you are a lady, you can't do this, you can't do that. So to deal with that, you just have to be firm and know your story. We had to equip ourselves with the knowledge, with all the knowledge that we could get, so that when you get to site, you know that this is wrong. Even when you tell them, you like firm and know that this, we should be doing it this way, we shouldn't be doing this way, and you argue from the scope or whatever that is there. Mokibelo Investment was established in 2012 by my husband, and I joined in 2013, because at that time when he started the company, I was actually working at the public sector as a quantity surveyor. Then I joined in, and he actually just said, you know what, I think the company is in capable hands. He's actually dealing with other business opportunities. So I took over from him in 2018. He had that confidence that, you know what, this person that I'm bringing has got all the experience from the public sector and also from the private, because I work for a consulting firm. So when I came in with that experience from being a client and also from a consultant. So I knew how to deal with the client because I know what they expect, and I also knew how to deal with a consultant because I once been a consultant. So it actually helped, and even the relationships that we had actually improved because they actually realized that, you know what, we are in the right hands because this person that is here actually understand what we need. I think every day you find challenges that are actually just building you up. It's been difficult, but I thank God that I always had the support system from my husband. He's been there, he's been like, you know what, if you do a mistake, it's your mistake, it's fine. That's how we grow. Yeah, I think it requires a lot. You just need to empower yourself continuously because construction space, it's really changing, it's advancing. There's green building now, which you need to now think of those as you are in that space. We are currently taking our staff, most of them, especially the project managers, because we have all our sites, there should be a project manager who's on site. So we take them through training. We make sure that even our artisans, like those people that are actually the skilled laborers, we take them for trade tests, and we ensure that our plumbers, they got all the certificates. So that's one thing that we actually do on a yearly basis. At this point, we have 22 permanent staff. The others are temporary, which it goes as and when. If we get to a site, we have to appoint the local laborers or the local people from that site. So it differs every month, because sometimes we do this trade, it requires you to have more laborers, and we move to another trade, it doesn't need. So it actually fluctuates. But we are sitting at around, we can safely say approximately 250 this year that we have already appointed. In terms of the gender equality, we are actually trying to appoint a lot of women. I think I've seen the benefit of working with women. They do diligence to their work, because at this point I have 9 on the permanent structure. I have 9 women, and they work so perfectly. They are so reliable. I think there's still a gap where women can actually fill in these positions and not be intimidated by this is a masculine environment, this is men's environment. But one thing that I can say is that with all our clients, they are actually so happy with our service. They actually say, it looks like women are doing it better than men, because of the sensitivity around us doing the work. You take even those little things, like you're just so particular with everything that you do. Yes, there is the SAWIC, which is women, South African women in construction, but it's kind of limited, should I say, maybe on your provincial level and all that. But there's that women that is on the rural area, in that community that is so remote, somewhere in those remote areas. That person doesn't even have internet and all those. So I still believe that there's potential even on that. So if at least there is that awareness that is being made continuously, even on that community there, to say, as women, you can actually be in construction. We are actually having very committed staff. Thank God for that. Yes, we always try to motivate them in such a way that we have, maybe once in a while we'll have a team building. Maybe as a start of the year, we'll have a team building, and we also have our monthly meetings where we just, reflect. Sometimes it's not really to pinpoint that you did this, you did that. It's just to reflect, how can we do it better? So we actually try by all means to motivate our staff, especially regarding the education level. We have this open relationship. I can talk to them, they talk to me anytime. It's always a teamwork. So even when we go to a client and one of our colleague has actually maybe didn't do things correctly, we always say, this is our issue, we'll sort it out as a team. So I think teamwork and team spirit, it's what we have encouraged throughout. My mentor is actually my father-in-law. It's actually his name, Mokibelo, it's my father-in-law's name. He will guide you through business. He used to have his own business then, but not a professional kind of business, but he's been having this business mind. So I would say he has been a great pillar for us. If we get any challenges, we know that he's there with his advice. We are also on the Property Point Entrepreneur Development Program for 2 years now. So they are actually assisting us, they are providing us with all the support regarding how to do your business and also how to sell your business. They outsource even other service providers who comes in as your mentor for that time and provide you with all the skills that you require. So that also, the program is also assisting us in how to run the business. They have their annual applications or openings. So we saw it in one of the newspapers and we applied and we went for the interview. They actually evaluated and shortlisted us. It's been great to be in that program because it helps us to grow. This is our first year with them. It's a 2-year program with them. So it also assists us in training our staff in every skill that we might require, be it on even the accounting and financial skills, they provide for that, and also the sales and marketing, they provide for that. So it's really helping, and I would encourage every entrepreneur to actually join or apply for all these programs, because there are so many programs that are there to support the entrepreneurs. I think it has increased our professionalism kind of, so it's really helping, because every skill that we lack, they actually provide. At this point, we are in Limpopo, we are Gauteng, Northern Cape and Western Cape. So we also want to touch other regions that we haven't been there. And if that can be met, I believe that we'll say, actually, yes, we have expanded. In construction, you have to do the work and you claim after. And one of the biggest challenge was the funding or raising a capital. It's been so challenging that even the other funding agencies that we know about and we try to get a capital, it's always difficult. Every project that we get, we always save something, then we know that we're actually planning for the next project that it comes, so that it keeps going. At least if we always fight that, at least let's start. If we have something to start, we have our capital to start, then we know that it will then generate income on its own. And another advantage that we had was that, as I mentioned, that I've been working on the public sector and the private sector. And when I left, I actually, when you get your pension funds, then you actually invest it in the business, so that at least you have a starting point in each and every project that we do. But that also assisted us for the first project that we were doing. As a small business, it's difficult to get a funding sometimes, because they'll need the surety, which you find you don't even have the surety. And for them to finance you, it end up taking long. By the time they approve you, or there's a promise of approval, you were already supposed to be halfway. So, which is one of the challenges that we got in one of the financiers. By the time you provide all those things and you get the approval, we were actually halfway. And they came back and said, but you're almost done, so we can't fund this project anymore. Let's look into the next project, that kind of a thing. Under the program that the Property Point, they also assist with the funding. They actually fund, they get us the funders, and you get into your the agreement with them on how you pay them and all that. But it also assists because at least the funders, they have a confidence that you are from the program, you are from the Property Point program. So it actually even shortens the process. So I think that also assisted us. We want to grow it in such a way that it becomes a multidisciplinary firm. We can do even your maybe design and build, and we don't need to even outsource any services. And that's the dream that we are actually believing that we are heading there. That we will have all the professionals in-house and us as contractors. So one big multidisciplinary firm. And when we go out to the client, we know that we come as a package to say, we don't need an architect, we don't need a civil engineer, all in one, electrical engineers, all in one as a package. So that's where we believe we are going.
Well, that wraps it up for tonight's show. Stay warm, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Cheers from me, Fifi Peters.